Hey there. I wanted to actually make a video because when I was listening to the events surrounding the Pineapple Grill and seeing that they have now filed a suit against the governor of California, there's something that came to mind in the midst of this conversation I've been watching over the last few days, and it goes really to the heart of the Constitution and the ideas enshrined in the Declaration of Independence. Um, the thing that I'm most concerned about right now is I'm seeing at the federal level, at the state level, um, more and more and more use of executive orders. And the reason this concerns me is there are three parts of government. Each has a role in order for us to have um, kind of checks and balances so that no one person, no one party, no one branch of the government gets too much power. And what I've been noticing is a very persistent trend in both state and federal level, where our governors are using more and more and more executive orders. And because they're using executive orders, it's an end around to the legislative process where we would be creating something that's an actual law. But these executive orders have the effect of law. So that in the case of Pineapple Grill in California, they can't do business. And not only can they not do business, but they can have a larger economic interest. I think a movie is being done very close, and they have set up their own open air cafeteria. So we have a couple of problems here. The private business is not allowed to operate, but a larger business is allowed to do the very thing that private business would have really profited from right across the street. These executive orders, I would love to say that the problem is something else, or I would love to blame it on, a virus or whatever. But the truth is that the real issue here is not the virus. It's the government's response. And it's primarily because the government's response has focused on and put an emphasis on the executive authority to issue orders, which is directly against our system. We are meant to have, if you grew up in my generation, you saw Schoolhouse Rock, where there's a bill sitting on the steps of Capitol Hill and they walk it up to the House, and the House talks about the bill, the Senate talks about the bill. They come up with eventually a bill that they can send to the president, and the president either signs or vetoes. Well, we've completely gotten rid of that. Now, the legislative branch has gotten really good at having hearings. And you know what gets done at those hearings? Not one damn thing. I mean, I'm sorry. It's a bunch of photo ops for a bunch of people so that they can go back to their constituents and say, oh, I gave it to so-and-so. No, they didn't. It was a joke. I mean, these guys are in the DC two-step. They dance around each other. They pat each other on the back when the cameras are off. They shake a fist at each other when the cameras are on. And they laugh about it around the dinner table as they sip on, Dom Perignon and eat $100 cheesecake and $13 a pint ice cream. And you and I struggle to put food on the table. What was it yesterday? I think they passed $600 per most people that have paid taxes and aren't business owners and things like that. You know, if you're an independent contractor, I think you're out of luck, but that's a whole nother story. What they basically have done is they've been talking for 4 months about how we need help. And they've talked about it and they've debated it and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. They put together a wonderful package, and it's, I think they said $900 million or something like that, or $900 billion, you know, and $600 for 300 million people. You do the math. We aren't even half of their consideration. Now, that I don't think we need it at all. I don't think that's really something we need to do with our debt the way it is. But the point is, Congress and legislators have done nothing but investigate and have hearings and sit around and debate. And then finally, just before Christmas, because they know that a lot of people are mad at them, they pass the giving of beads and trinkets to the natives who are restless. Stop and think about that for a minute. You know, I mean, Gavin Newsom has basically shut down restaurant after restaurant after restaurant. But he lets the movie industry keep going. Why? Why do they have a separate set of rules? You know, that's an interesting point. And she's right in her lawsuit. I'm not a lawyer. So there could be somebody that comes up and says, no, she's not right. I may not be a lawyer. I may not know the fine points of the law, but I know justice. And what I'm seeing these governors do has nothing to do with justice. It has everything to do with maintaining control of a population that is really getting madder and madder and madder. It's about exercising authority without any accountability. You know, that's the other side of this issue. There's no accountability. There's nobody they're going to answer to. You can talk about the voters. Well, the voters in California are not going to change the system. They'll go down the tubes. They're halfway there already. You know, I remember when California was the fourth biggest economy in the world. And what is it today? The eighth? You know, look what's happened. Wake up and recognize that we've got a problem in this country, and it is not the people. It is not the virus. It is not Republican or Democrat. It is not the people on both sides. What it is an ineffective, inefficient, wasteful government that is using executive orders to get around doing the real hard work of running the country. And we've got a legislative branch that has allowed that, and we've got a judicial branch that is rubber stamping it. That's the problem. So where do we go from here? That's my question, because I think the time has come for us to recover a way of removing them from office, one way or another. You know, we've got legal recourse to sue them. We've got recourse to recall. We've got recourse to shake our fist on the steps of the Capitol and say no more. But they're not listening. So where do we go? What do we do? How do we begin to say enough is enough in a way that they will listen? How do we begin to say, go back and look at the Constitution and figure out what it is that you've got to do to follow the framework that the founders gave us? Because that's what we have to hold on to as a nation, as a people. Whether we agree with each other or not, the Constitution is our way to navigate this. And the Constitution says Congress proposes, the executive disposes, and the judicial makes sure that it's done right. That's what we've got to get back to. Until we do, all the executive orders in the world aren't going to make it right. And the Pineapple Grill is going to go out of business, just like 40 of my friends have gone out of business, waiting for them to give us permission to open back up. 2 of my friends have committed suicide because they had to close, give up their livelihood. When you got to stand there and tell 30 of your employees that you can't open up again because you can't reasonably do so in this environment, when you have to look at people that have been your friends, that have worked with you for decades, all of a sudden they're out of a job. You know, my friend wept when the bank came and closed his business. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't, you know, Gavin Newsom sitting in whatever that restaurant was with all his posh friends. It wasn't, you know, Chuck Schumer standing there handing out $100 cheesecakes to his friends. It wasn't Nancy Pelosi sitting there, you know, walking around like a queen in a haircut shop. This is a person that was fighting for the business that he has poured his life into. So I get where she's coming from in the Pineapple Grill, and I hope she takes it to him. And I hope somewhere the judicial system will have the guts to do justice to her, because she deserves it. Now, I've probably gone on longer than I should. I've probably rambled. There's a lot of really toxic, frustrated anger in me about what I'm seeing happen in this country. And this is just the start. So hopefully after Christmas, I'm going to be able to get on a schedule once a week of putting out a video that I've actually researched and focused on. It's not going to so much be current events. It's going to be more about where have we gotten off track? What is the promise of the Constitution? What is in the Bill of Rights? What do they mean? And why did the founders put them there? Because that's what we've got to get back to. That's the thing, that regardless of gender or race or economic standing or any of that stuff, that's what we have that holds us together. And that's what we've got to go back to, because that's what's going to heal us. You guys have a great night. These are going to get better. I'm just learning all of it. We'll talk to you later.